J. Krishnamurti's teachings have been very long time listened to, considered by people, but many couldn't begin to go deeper with it because he was not giving any practical bridges which many could work with. So they remain more on a subtle and more difficult level for most people. So Krishnamurti's teaching to bring it into practice can be very valuable. For example, one of his basic reminders were passive awareness, choiceless awareness. These are indications which people can understand intellectually, but many were not able to apply it in the way it is necessary that it can become a transformation in their life. So this time, with a Sesshin reminder, I want to bring attention to this possibility to bridge and take some simple steps which can enable all to realize the sense behind all the essential teachings. So that will be good to recognize that what he is pointing out is a quality of awareness where one is not trapped in the field of duality. A quality of presence where one is not unconsciously caught in an idea of a separate I. That is why this is very, very valuable. When understood rightly and put into practice, it gives the possibility for a transcendental vision of reality. Now the word transcendental vision may sound very far away or difficult to grasp. Let me put it in a simple way. What I mean with the transcendental vision is a state of being with the reality without getting caught in the automatism of judgment. You can also say it is a teaching which Jesus was bringing in when he said, "Don't judge." Judgment is based on knowledge collected through the projections, through our conditioned mind. All the values and standards are coming from that. So not to get trapped in our conditioned mind, and that is what Krishnamurti was also bringing the awareness into. To recognize, first of all, that there is a conditioning and that in the normal way of going, we are projecting through this conditioned mind and believing that that is the reality. So not to get bound by these projections, but learn to connect directly to the reality. So to put it in a simple way, one can say it is learning to see, learning to look directly. Then this transcendental vision will not come as a far-fetched philosophic concept as a barrier in between. It is learning to look, learning to see, learning to observe consciously. And the consciousness is required because without a deliberate effort and an initiative for it, we are unconsciously automatically identified in the judgmental, comparing, competitive process of the conditioned mind. So, to make a bridge to this possibility, I want to give two simple classical possibilities which everybody can apply. One of them is used in many different ways with different emphasis, and that is the breath. Now, many people are working with breath, trying to force certain kind of pranayama, certain kind of changes in the energy process. There is always different things happening with the breath. But what I am pointing out is a way of being with the breath where you are not interfering, where you are simply with the natural breath and taking time on few occasions during the day simply to be with the natural inhalation, the gap between the inhalation and exhalation, and the exhalation, the gap between the exhalation and inhalation, just to notice it. For some who have difficulty, I would even give one little step additionally to it. That is, with the exhalation, wherever you are, you can do it in a quiet way. You don't have to be loud. You can start humming gently with the exhalation. But remember, you have to wait for the natural breath. You are not trying to force anything. You are not interfering with it. In this humming together with it, there is a little interference. But that is okay when you again come to observe and wait for the gap after the exhalation and then allow the inhalation to happen by itself. So, few cycles of breath. So, stay for some moments, some minutes with the breath like that. It can be varying. Sometimes you have a little bit more time, so take more time. Sometimes you have less time, then you take less time. So you can go flexibly, and to make it a little bit more effective so that we find certain structure for it. Do it before you eat or drink anything. Otherwise, we always have the tendency, I'll do it sometime, I'll postpone it for another thing. Or we forget it very easily. And because of this forgetfulness, because of this tendency unconsciously to avoid that what can touch us, we have to playfully bring in some kind of bridges. That is why before you drink, before you eat anything, take some moments just to be with the natural breath, observing everything, and you can use the aspect of the humming with the exhalation together. Practice it for about 7 weeks and see what it is making possible, how it is helping you to bring more presence, more wakefulness into the whole life process. And it is all about learning to look without getting trapped in the projections through the automatism. So even when you are doing these things, the automatism may be going on judging. It may say, oh, what is this? Oh, this is all too much. Or the reaction to the surrounding things and provocation from anywhere outside will go on. Accept all that. Watch also that. So connecting to the breath is a help also to connect to the movements of the mind without identifying with it. So combine these two factors in a gentle, playful, and almost with a little sense of humor, so that when you notice how easily we become serious, when you notice how easily one forgets and how easily some resistance is coming, watch all these things and continue. So accept everything. When I say accept everything, accept also all these tendencies which are coming, so that it goes beyond this approach of the fight into an approach of beingness. Being with what is, being present, being wakeful. So this is what J. Krishnamurti has been pointing out when he was referring to the choiceless awareness. To bring a quality of presence which enables you to see and experience the reality the way it actually is. It is not our interpretation, it is not our judgment, it is not our tendency to interfere. It is a quality of mirroring. This is one reminder. And the second reminder, which is good to combine and practice during the 7 weeks period, is learning to listen. Again, it is the same principle, because we listen many things. We are going on in every day-to-day life process, listening to little sounds, loud sounds, pleasant sounds, unpleasant sounds, comfortable and soothing sounds, or disturbing and annoying sounds. All these things are there. You take some moments, again it's left to you, with which you combine it. You can say, okay, every 2 hours I will take this hour, take this moments. That's one possibility. Or you can say that when I'm going somewhere, coming back home, you have to find some possibility so that you can at least 5 to 7 times during the day find this kind of space where you consciously listen. In the mystical teachings, the factor of listening has been very deeply emphasized. That one who has learned to listen, and listening is different. Listening is not just hearing some sound, but listening consciously in such a way that you are not getting limited, overtaken by the automatic reaction which is taking place in you. That is what makes a big difference in all relationships. When you can listen to the other without getting overtaken by the reactions which arise in you, you have gained some very important basis for a more creative and loving life process. Because the automatic process, what goes on in our life, is somebody is saying something and all reactions are coming and we want to also throw back something, encounter it, change it, interfere with it. And therefore mostly nobody gives each other really the space to share, to express, and consider each other in that wakeful way. But you can bring it into practice by becoming alert and deliberately listening when there is no actual provocation. You take few minutes and say, okay, now I just listen everything, and whatever reaction is coming, when there is no sound and the mind says, oh, this is boring, this is nothing, what am I doing here? Watch that also. Or then some sound comes and, this neighbor or this person or this or that. So whatever kind of reaction is arising, just notice without identifying with it. Just watch it. So make conscious listening for few minutes like that, 5 to 7 times during the day. Sometimes it's also very much more easy to listen and go deeper when there are sounds in the nature, which is just happening and where the mind has not so much judgment coming. For example, when there's a stream, the water is running, a river. There's simply flowing water. And your mind does not have to judge so much. Or there is a sound of wind, whispering, quiet, sometimes a little strong, sometimes a little less. You can listen also. So going in the nature to listen like that also can be a very interesting, supportive experience. So you can combine it in a playful way. Sometimes you can go into the middle of the city street and do this experiment. Sometimes in your room in a quiet way. Sometimes in the nature. Sometimes in your working area where everybody is talking, and just like in the train station or university canteen, where everybody is so much busy with so many things and you hardly hear anything, but there's such a big amount of noise. The mind is always wanting to choose and to hold to something. Watch all these tendencies and notice all reactions. So playfully, wakefully, humorously, without going into a struggling approach, learn to listen. This can be also very supportive in what J. Krishnamurti has been calling passive awareness, choiceless awareness. So I would make these possibilities available to everybody who has been appreciative of Krishnamurti's teachings but did not know how to find a connection to it and how to apply it. For them it will be very valuable when they would consider it and put it into practice for at least these 7 weeks to experiment and see what it does to them. So this is the kind of reminders for this period now.